Okay, it looks like we have two Alessias today. All right, so let me start the recording. Today we've got a speaking class, and during this speaking class, we're going to practice the topics of the current season in IELTS from September to December 2021. So before we start, I'm going to just remind you, and maybe someone else will show up. I'm going to quickly remind you the structure of the IELTS speaking test. So as you probably remember, IELTS speaking consists of 3 parts. There is part 1, where you are asked some simple questions, like do you work or are you a student? Do you live in a house or a flat? Do you like music? And so on. So some simple questions. It doesn't mean that your answers should be simple, but the questions are, well, basically like everyday questions. Then part 2, that's a cue card where, well, you're supposed to speak for 2 minutes and you've got 1 minute to prepare. So, well, students of my online school have access to the questions of the current season. And so you know exactly before the exam what kind of questions you're going to have. And so that's, there's going to be your monologue. And part 3 are philosophical questions related to the topic of your monologue. All right, so then there are 4 evaluation criteria. One of them, that's fluency and coherence. Fluency, this is how well you can speak without hesitations. And coherence, this is how you connect your sentences using, for example, linking words, how well you develop your ideas, especially in speaking part 2 and part 3. So whether you're able to speak at length, this is fluency and coherence. Then we have grammatical range and accuracy. This is the range of grammar structures which you use, whether you're speaking in simple sentences or complex sentences. And also that's accuracy. That means how correct your grammar is. After this, we have got lexical resource. If you want band 7 in lexical resource, you need to use less common lexical items. If you want band 8, you need to use uncommon lexical items. And also you're supposed to use idiomatic language, not necessarily idioms. These can be phrasal verbs. They can be, well, some other set expressions like metaphors. And yeah, also collocations give you bonus points as well. And finally, that's pronunciation. Pronunciation in IELTS, pronunciation doesn't mean you're supposed to speak without an accent. It just means that your pronunciation should be understandable, and you should use some pronunciation features like intonation. So your intonation shouldn't be monotonous. It should go up and down. Right. So, yeah. Okay, so Alessia, you were the first. Could you please unmute yourself? Could you turn on the microphone? Yes, can you say something? Yes, hello.
Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you quite well. So you were supposed to prepare part 1 and part 2 speaking topics. Did you prepare any topics?
Yes, of course, I prepared task 1, speaking about colors.
Okay, good. So before we start, do you know any advanced colors? Because it's quite difficult to give a good answer without by saying just blue, red, yellow, green, and so on. Do you remember any advanced colors? Maybe from the materials.
Maybe a light color, blue color, purple, apricot.
Okay. Okay, apricot, yeah.
Something like carroty.
Okay.
Cherry.
All right.
coral, coral, something like this.
All
Dark
right.
blue.
Okay, that's enough. Now you can give some examples when you answer. Yeah, here are three examples of my favorite colors that are more or less advanced: this turquoise, maroon, and beige. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the questions. You give your answer to the best of your ability, so something that you prepared. I hope you didn't write complete answers. You just wrote down some ideas, some vocabulary, maybe grammar notes. And after this, I'm going to give you my feedback on how you can improve your answer further. So what is your favorite color?
I prefer colors from blue palette. It's dark blue, light blue, and maybe mix blue with another colors.
Okay, what colors do your friends like?
It's a good question because they often prefer the same colors, and sometimes they like purple or green, yellow colors, maybe sometimes carrot, red color, of course, and cherry.
Okay.
While they choose clothes.
So one of the possible approaches here is in the beginning of your answer, you could say, well, of course, I could have said something like turquoise, maroon, or beige, but I'm going to say what I have to say that my friends prefer and say what you said. So if you do this, you will use modal verb with perfective infinitive. I could have said, and then three advanced colors, and after this, three more advanced colors. Again, this is just an option. It's just a possible way to do this. This is what I would do if I had to take an exam right now. So what color would you never use in your home?
If I never I'm not use light pink color and fuchsia in colors for my wall.
Okay, but can you explain why?
Because I have associated with pigs, and pigs is not my favorite animal. Okay,
so when you say I would never use this blah 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 color in my home, this is a simple sentence. There's a problem about this in grammar, but if you use too many simple sentences, well, if you use mostly simple sentences, you get band 5 in grammatical range, and it doesn't matter if your accuracy is perfect or not. It's just because the range is quite narrow. You're only using simple sentences like London is the capital of Great Britain, and so on. If there is a mix of simple sentences like this and complex sentences, which is probably going to be the case, then you get band 6. If you want band 7 or higher, if you want band 7, you need to use mostly complex sentences. So the majority of your sentences should be complex. What is a complex sentence? It just means there is subject and predicate, and one more subject and predicate. So for example, I would never use this color in my home because it is associated with pigs. Okay, and then it becomes a complex sentence. In Russian tradition, we call this сложно подчиненное предложение. Okay, and you need to use as many of them as possible for band 7. And if you want band 8, then you need to use as many different types of these sentences as possible. So like clause of reason and so on. There's a special video on my YouTube channel about complex sentences. And so, yeah, you can watch this video, and there are several types of these complex sentences. So try not to speak in simple sentences if possible, as well as in your writing, try to avoid using them. So do you think colors influence you?
Sure, because when we choose colors depending on my mood, and when I chose this color, it can give me more more powerful. For example, if I choose red and get more energy.
Okay. Right. So were colors important to you when you were a child?
As I remember, I always prefer dark blue and indigo color in my clothes.
Mm-hmm. So you can also, when I say when I was a child, but you can use an expression here, when I was in my formative years, or you can use an idiom, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And then I used to like, and you mentioned the colors that you like, or you could say, although colors seem to be the least of my concerns, the ones that I liked were, and you mentioned your colors. So again, that will be a contrast clause and a complex sentence. So what color clothes do you like to wear?
Well, it depends for my mood, of course, but often I prefer blue color in my clothes, and sometimes put light accessories like earrings or rings on fingers or earrings in my ears.
Mm-hmm. So you can also use shades of colors. If you say blue, it's an elementary level, and it doesn't mean that your score is going to be low just because you're using a simple word. Of course, you can use simple words, but if you can, for example, say some shade like navy blue or emerald green, you can also include them here. Do people in your country like to wear bright colors?
To be honest, I'm not sure that people wear a lot of bright colors in Russia, because here a lot of winters. First of all, it's a lot of here's a lot of time is cold, and dark colors keep more warm, for example. And in a city, light colors in clothes will be dirty very soon. It's soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. So when you say to be honest, one way is to use an advanced collocation, to be brutally honest. The words brutally and honest are not advanced, they are simple, but together they form an advanced collocation, to be brutally honest. So this is also a requirement for high band score in lexical resource. Or just two more alternatives, which are quite advanced. It's in truth and frankly speaking. So in order not to repeat to be honest all the time, you can also say, like, frankly speaking, in truth, to be brutally honest. This expression, to be brutally honest, is usually studied at C2 levels, at C2 level proficiency. So, well, you can demonstrate this. So what are the differences between men and women's preference in color?
In my in my mind, it's choose types between women and men is come from, first of all, stereotypes from country and mood for people. For example, sometimes people can't choose pink, for example, men's, because they think it's woman's color, and at the same time, maybe for girls, parents not choose blue costume because it's more for boys.
Okay, right. You can also say that I don't mean to be sexist, but, and then say something about men or say something about women that's specifically about them. All right, so what color car would you choose to buy?
I dream about black and blue color, black and blue car, because they looks luxury in these colors, and of course very beautiful in city streets.
Mm-hmm. And can you notice such a car from a distance? What do you think?
Pardon?
Can you notice a car of this color from a distance? What do you think? If you have black and blue car, can you notice it? Can you see it from a distance? Is it?
If if it's a day, it's a light sunny day, of course you can see colors, which colors is in on
Mm-hmm.
colors
So
cars
yeah.
color, but in night all colors are near the same color. In the dark, you can't see colors.
Okay, so you can say that this car would be quite conspicuous. Conspicuous, that means noticeable. So you can, I would prefer like black and blue, you said color, because that would be quite conspicuous during the day, which can help me to avoid car accidents. Or if the car is stolen, it will be easier to find it because it is conspicuous. So заметный. So it's quite a nice expression here. And then you're always saying because there are some other synonyms for this, like due to the fact that, or as, or since, yeah. Or you can say predominantly due to the fact that. If you say that, maybe examiner will be happy. I would be happy if I were an examiner, if I could hear something like this. So what color would you choose to paint the walls of your room?
I prefer light gray coloring for my for walls in my room, because it maybe can more I can more concentrate when I walk, because I walk in a room at
Okay.
home, so it helps me to concentrate more.
Instead of helps, you can say it enables me to concentrate more. It's a more advanced synonym. And then there walls in my room. So because there are specific walls in your room. Okay, by the way, can you see my screen and what I'm writing?
Yes, I see it.
I
do some screenshots on my phone.
yeah, okay. So I can actually copy all these in the chat box at the end, and you can copy. So yes, we'll talk. We'll discuss part 2 with you just a bit later, because Taisia has already. There were a couple of more people who joined and then left. I don't know. Maybe they were afraid to speak. So, which part 2 topic did you prepare?
I prepared about gifts and handmade.
Okay, so you can listen to Taisia, or you can think about what you're going to say, and we'll talk to you a bit later when we finish with Taisia. So yes, now Alessia, could you please mute yourself? And Taisia, could you please unmute yourself, and we'll try to practice some speaking with you. Yes, Taisia, hello. Yes, Taisia, I cannot hear you, and your microphone is turned off. Okay, if you have some problems or you don't want to participate, please write it in the chat box. So while we're waiting for Taisia's reply, Alessia, could you please unmute yourself again? And let's discuss part 2. Part 2 about gift. About gift. I don't really remember this topic.
Art and gift.
Oh, it's art and craft activity.
Craft.
Okay.
Yes.
By the way, when are you planning to take your exam? Like, approximately which month?
I thought about February.
Okay,
but
so
I afraid maybe my English isn't not very high level for. I want to take for February. Maybe it's
okay,
too
so
low.
this particular topic that you prepared will be used only from September to December. And if you saw on the list of topics, there we have some topics which will be used till April next year, and some of them will disappear in December. So if you take it in February, March, or April next year, then the topic, well, art and craft activity is not going to be used. Now we're going to practice it just for the sake of practice, but you will not have this topic. There are 50 topics in speaking part 2, and 25 of the topics will stay the same well till the next season, and 25 topics will be new. So now we already know 25 topics for the next season, and somewhere by the middle of January we'll also know the other 25 topics. But this one, art and craft activity, isn't going to be used anyway. Now we're going to practice it, so please describe an art and craft activity that you had at school. You should say what you made, how you made it, what it looked like, and how you felt about it. Do you need a minute to prepare, or are you ready to speak now?
I want a minute for prepare if it's possible.
Okay, yeah. Could you please mute yourself now? I think, Taisa, you tried to turn on your microphone. Can you say something?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, not quite clearly, but more or less, yes. So did you have time to prepare any part 1 speaking topics?
No, I haven't yet, because I had a problem with my microphone. But now
No, I mean, by preparing, I mean for this lesson. So there was a list of topics, but it's okay. If you haven't prepared, you can take one topic and answer it on the spot. So I think you're not going to take your exam in December, right? In the remaining 20.
Yes.
So let's choose the topics from the next season. So till April 2022. So just choose one of the topics from here.
I want to try talk about animals and pets.
Okay, animals and pets. So before we start, do you know any advanced names of animals? Not like cat and dog, but something else. So something more advanced, like, I don't know, badger or pygmy shrew or any other that you can remember now.
No, I can say so.
Okay. All right. Let me just share with you. Several animals that are advanced. You don't need to use them all. You can just, okay, 1 second. Yeah, so for example, have a quick look. All these animals are marked as C2 Band 9 level words in Oxford Dictionary. So 3 or 4 animals, you don't have to know them, but at least in Russian, you probably know them. Choose 3 or 4, and I want you to use them in your answer. This will decorate your answer significantly. There are only 3 questions in this topic, so. Okay, so have you ever had a pet? Okay, Tasia? I think I can't hear you. Hello? No, I think I can't hear you. Okay, can you try to say something now?
some problems.
Oh, okay, now I can hear you, but it's very, very quiet. Try to speak a bit louder if possible. So have you ever had a pet?
Yes, I had a pet in my childhood. When I was young, I found a cat on the street, and I couldn't see how it suffered, and I took it into my home, and my parents let me to keep it.
Okay, let me keep it without two. So what's the most popular animal in your country?
I think that in my country, people most of all like dogs.
Okay. Now, what's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is cat.
Now, what score do you think examiner will give you? My favorite people in my country like dogs. My favorite animal is cat.
Mhm.
So if you just say cat, dog, I like my favorite animal, your score isn't going to be very high. So what you can do to get a higher band score, that's to use advanced vocabulary. One of them was, what's the most popular? If you say dogs, you can, for example, say, well, poodles. There are dogs such as poodles, chihuahuas, and Alsatians. So you can just mention kinds of dogs, or you can just think of some more exotic animals like budgies. Волнистый попугайчик. Well, they're also popular. And you don't have to provide accurate information. So for example, if they ask you, what type of sport is the most popular in Russia? If you say football or basketball, probably you won't get such a high score, but you can say something like pentathlon, shot putting, and track and field, because this will be advanced words and football is not. So yes, you just need to be able to use some complex sentences again, not just simple sentences like I like dogs, so my favorite animal is a dog. Or another strategy is, for example, to use parts of the animal. For example, you can say that your favorite animal is, well, about a dog, it's quite difficult, but let's say elephant. And you can mention parts of the elephant such as bivnya, tusks, or hobot, trunk, or you can mention its pillar-like legs. And now please compare your answer, like my favorite animal is a dog, and I will just give you another answer. So well, my favorite animal is an elephant. It's the biggest and one of the most unique looking animals with a long nose, which is called trunk, large floppy ears, and a wide thick legs. I'm fond of animals because they are very sociable, and not only are they social, but they're also extremely intelligent species. What's more, unlike most other animals, they can recognize themselves in mirrors, which is a sign of greater self-awareness. And one more reason why I adore them is just because they're very cute. Okay, now what do you think is the difference between your answer and my answer now?
I think that your answer is more rich. Your answer is richer, much richer, and you used different words. You used good vocabulary, and you.
Okay, right. So basically, it was just it was quite fluent. So I didn't say like this. Yeah, it was connected. I said, "What's more?" Like in addition, another reason. There was some vocabulary and there were some grammar structures. Basically, that's also what you need for your answer. Now, in the materials for this lesson, you also have a list of topics and questions for the current season, but half of the questions are marked for the next season. And for each of the topic, there are lexical items, there are vocabulary lists, and also sometimes sample answers. Sometimes, in most cases, there are ideas which you can use to answer. So for example, next Friday, our lesson is also going to be speaking practice, same time, the 17th of December. So if you want, just before the lesson, you can choose part one topic and look through this list. And instead of saying my favorite animal is a dog, try to think before what kind of advanced vocabulary you can use. Okay.
Okay, so I can choose a topic and to prepare for the next.
Yes, exactly. If you read the list of lessons, it said just prepare one part one and one part two speaking topic for this class, because it's a speaking practice class. So this is part one, and now please choose a part two monologue. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry. Now please, or no, I think I am. No, I'm sharing. So please choose a part two speaking topic. You will have more than a minute because we will talk to Alessia. You can well turn down the volume if you want and just think about what you're going to say. So which topic do you prefer? Do you want to choose? Yes, Stacey, I think you muted yourself, but I need to know the topic because I have to send you the card.
Okay, I choose creative person.
Okay, creative person. Just in a second, I will send you the topic, and possibly also some vocabulary that you can look through. Unfortunately, I have some problems with my mouse right now. Daisy, could you please take a screenshot of this cue card, or you will have it for a while. Describe a person whose creative work you admire. You should say who this person is, how you know this personality, and what creative things this person likes to do.
I have done.
Okay, great. At the exam, you'll have 1 minute to prepare, but now you can prepare, well, as long as we discuss speaking part two with Alessia and speaking part three. So, well, you can make a plan. Don't write complete sentences, just make a plan of what you're going to say. And then I'll also give you my feedback on how you can improve your answer. Okay, so Alessia, can you please unmute yourself?
I'm here.
All right. So if you're ready, please start.
I have a question that you
Yes.
said that I choose about speaking part two about art and craft activity. Is it good to said about it, or I need to choose another from you topics?
But you've already prepared it. So now we'll just be practicing grammar, vocabulary, and fluency, and that's fine.
Because I have ideas. For example, I have ideas what I can say about cafe, or
Okay,
I can
well,
talk
if you
about art
okay,
and craft activity at the same time.
all right. If you want to speak about cafe, you can speak about cafe.
Okay, so, or I don't know.
It's up to
Okay,
you.
maybe
Which one is easier for you?
For me, easier now talk about art and craft activity because
Okay.
I prepared it for lesson.
Okay. Then
So
let's do
okay.
this topic then.
Today I want to talk about craft, handmade craft activity. And I remember if I remember that I do some handmade things at school, and I it was maybe first elementary classes. So there there was a picture from leaves and pieces of wood. I used some yes, and there was a lot of kinds of leaves. I chose leaves in a park and dried it in a book. Then after I I fixed it on a piece of paper and do trees or and rivers. And I think my parents helped me to do this paint. And it looks very bright and beautiful. I brought this picture in my classrooms and classroom, and it was and teachers chose my picture like best, and they put it in a school art gallery maybe for a month, and every child and their parents saw my picture and was very happy to see it because they like it, of course. I was very proud that people choose my picture like very nice picture, handmade art. So after a few months, I take it back at home and keep like a memory.
Why are you saying it in present? I take it home. After
I
this,
took
I
it
take it.
home.
Yes,
I
sure.
took it home.
Ага. And you can say, и теперь это красуется на видном месте в моей гостиной. And now it takes pride of
Takes a
place.
pride of place on the wall in my room.
Yes. Yeah, it takes pride of place in my lounge or on the wall in my room. Okay, so a few recommendations. When you say, I want to talk about, instead of just present simple, you can use present perfect passive. Don't expect too much. It's still just a tense, but it's still more advanced. I've been asked to talk about, yeah, so that it's a bit more advanced than I want to talk about. Then when you say I was in primary school, and you can say when I was learning the 3 hours of education. 3 hours of education is reading, writing, arithmetics. That's an idiom, and this is what students learn in elementary school. That's why you can say when I was in elementary school learning my 3 hours of education, I had a hobby. Okay, then choose. Very often you just
choose.
Yes, past simple is chose.
Yes,
What do
I have problems with times.
Okay,
Sometimes.
and so when you talk about collecting leaves, here for you is a golden opportunity to use names of trees. Do you know any names of trees in English? Okay, so for example, poplar.
It's a good. I
yeah, so
understand. It's a good idea to learn trees in English.
Of course.
Because,
you can also find this
often,
in the speaking booklet. Yes. You can use it in many different topics. Yes. I was, for example, I was sauntering along a park. Sauntering means I was walking, прогуливаться вальяжной походкой. I was sauntering around along a park, surrounded by coniferous and deciduous trees, хвойные и лиственные деревья, by coniferous and deciduous trees, such as poplar trees, maples, birches, and oak trees with acorns around them. Acorns, желуди. So it means you have already used 5 or 6 advanced lexical items, and you can incorporate this into many, many different topics. Yes, this is not only in this topic. Then it was bright and beautiful. You can use an inversion here. Not only did it look bright, but it was also beautiful. And then we say,
maybe
yes?
Maybe not bright. Maybe better to say it was colored, because I choose I chose a lot of I chose a lot of kind of leaves from maples tree, birches tree, with a lot of kinds of form, these leaves, and try to find interesting ideas. How can I use form to picture?
Okay, yeah. So you can do this. And then my parents were happy, not was.
We're happy. Yes.
But happy is also quite a basic word. Instead of this, you can say,
yes.
My
proud
parents.
For me, maybe more proud for me.
Proud of me.
Proud of me.
But see, it's still quite simple. Instead of this, you can say, my parents were on cloud 9. It's an, or like in Russian, we say, были на седьмом небе от счастья. They were in seventh heaven. Or sometimes you say in the seventh heaven, but article is not necessary. But you can also say in the seventh heaven, or you can say they were over the moon. And if I were you, I would even say, I would even use all these 3 idioms one after another. You say, well, my parents were in cloud 9. They were in seventh heaven. I mean, over the moon. Just all 3 idioms. Take the examiner by the throat to give you a good mark. So use as many lexical items as possible. Yeah, and now it takes this herbarium or whatever, takes pride of place in my lounge or on the wall in my room. Okay, so now part 3 questions related to this. What handicrafts do people in your country like to make?
In my opinion, people like, in Russia, there's a lot of cold days and windy weather, so people prefer knitting things and give knitting items for their friends. It's like socks or sweaters.
Okay. Do you like making things by hand?
Of course, because it's a very good time spent. It can help you to open your art mind, maybe, and you can relax when you do something by hands.
Okay. And do you think it's good for children to learn to make things by hand?
Sure, it's a good practice for their fingers, for their hands, how they learn how can use, and it's can open the door for their imagination.
Okay. Did you make any handicraft items in your childhood?
How I remember, I spent maybe 1 or 2 hours every evening to do some handmade things, like from leaves or pieces of paper, or maybe knitting a little bit sometimes.
Knitting, K is not pronounced.
Cross-stretching.
Okay. Yeah. About children, you can say it broadens their horizons. Also, there's one more expression. And then if I remember correctly, если мне не изменяет память, as far as my memory serves, or if my memory serves me right. So these are also idiomatic expressions. Okay, thank you. That is the end of the speaking test. Do you have any questions?
Now, maybe from my speaking, some recommendations. You heard me today a little bit, of course, but maybe you have recommendations on what I need to improve more.
Okay, So let's talk about each evaluation criteria. For fluency and coherence, so you still make some pauses, probably you need more speaking practice. And in IELTS, it's very easy to do so. You can just practice answering these questions yourself in front of the mirror, or well, during just speaking practice classes also, or you can find a speaking partner or just with a private teacher or some other way, or just with a native speaker who you find. So try to speak as much as possible, and try not to make any pauses first. Well, this is the first thing you need to do. Just try not to make any hesitations. You can start speaking slowly, but then increase your speed little by little. Okay, so you need to be able to speak without any noticeable hesitation. And also, well, this is not so much of a problem for you, but still, fluency is not only about speaking non-stop, it's also about, because it's also fluency and coherence, it's also about developing your ideas. So try to be able to speak at length. After you learn to speak quickly, well, you don't have to speak quickly, but it's a good idea to do so, because in 2 minutes of your monologue, for example, or in 11 minutes of your exam, you'll be able to say more, you'll be able to use more grammar structures, you'll be able to demonstrate more vocabulary. But, well, just speak faster. I'm not saying speak fast, but also be able to develop your ideas. Okay, then about vocabulary.
Yes, sometimes I have a problem when I do structure for answer. When I have an answer in my head, but when I start to talk to say about answer to the question, my ideas flow out, and sometimes they like snowball.
Okay. Yeah, so just practice speaking out loud and record yourself. For speaking part 2, make plans, look at your plans while you're speaking. For speaking part 1, write down advanced lexical items, maybe two words per question, 1 or 2 words per question, or five advanced words per topic, and try to use them in your speaking. Just try to practice more, because if this is your first time practicing IELTS speaking, then well, it's okay to forget things. You need to practice. This is fluency and coherence. That's the first evaluation criteria. Then vocabulary. There will be 30 topics in part 1, 50 topics in part 2. For every topic, there should be advanced vocabulary. So you should know in which part of the exam, which advanced vocabulary you're going to use. And just 5 lexical items for each topic. There will be some universal topics, like trees, for example, or something is expensive, it costs a pretty penny, prices are exorbitant, грабительские цены, and so on. But for each topic, there should be some advanced topical vocabulary, collocations, maybe idioms, or at least idiomatic language. Then grammar. Try to use a variety of structures, and do not speak in short, simple sentences. Expand your answers. Use a variety of complex structures. There is a video about grammar, a 1-hour video on my YouTube channel, where you can just watch this. Well, as for pronunciation, your pronunciation is quite understandable, but try to be not too monotonous. Try to add some emotion to your speaking. Try to enjoy
more emotion, and not speak the same words so a lot of times.
Yes, what this is about.
Not repeat.
Yes,
repeat a lot.
Repeating words, that's vocabulary. But in pronunciation, try to make sure that your intonation goes up and down. And then, well, this will also improve your score in pronunciation. Because with articulation of separate sounds, I don't see any significant problems. But your intonation is quite monotonous, which even though your examiner most likely isn't going to be a phonetician, but they don't have to be phoneticians to understand that your intonation is monotonous. So to get a high score in IELTS is just enough to make sure that your intonation goes up and down, and to add some emotion. Okay, so these are the recommendations. All right, so
thank you.
Thank you. Now, Taisia, let's continue with you.
Yes, I'm here, Yuri.
Okay, so the topic, okay, let me. So speaking part 2, a creative person, describe a person whose creative work you admire. You should say who this person is, how you know this personality, and what creative things this person likes to do. Okay, so could you please start?
Yes. Okay. Now I want to talk about Salvador Dali. This man is worldwide artist and writer, but he is famous not only for his genius masterpieces. He also Salvador Dali was a talented and creative man, and he was one of the first people who used some new and innovative ideas in marketing. I know that he lived in 20th century, and it was a time when the world wasn't full of advertising like we see now. And Salvador Dali he was the first man who decided to try a new he decided to try some experiments, and they give a brilliant result.
Okay, so talking about creativity, what do you think are the benefits of children's creativity?
I think that it's very important to
Okay, it's very important too.
behavior.
I'm sorry, can you speak up, please? Can you speak louder?
I think it's very important that children grow up
Grow up.
with creative thinking.
Okay, you can also say creative thinking plays a pivotal role, or it is, instead of very important, you can say it is crucial, it is vital, it is significant that children grow up in a creative atmosphere or in a creative ambience. So whenever you want to say very important, instead of very important, try to use a more advanced word like pivotal, crucial, vital, significant. Okay, what do you think? Should every child learn to play a musical instrument?
No, I don't think so, because I think that every person is different, and some children need to have to develop their creative skills, but another will like sports or arithmetics or something else.
Okay. Do you think teachers should be creative?
Yes, I agree that teachers must be innovative and they should be able to
Be able to.
find and interesting in their pupils.
Okay. Do you think you were more creative when you were younger?
No, I don't think so. I think that I was developing my skills during my life, and now I have more information about the world, about other people. I have more resources which inspire me. Now I'm more creative person than I used to be.
Okay, right. So when you want to say no, or I don't think so, you can say I'm leaning towards a negative answer. Or if you want to say yes, я склоняюсь к положительному ответу, I'm leaning towards a positive answer. And so you can always use it instead of yes or no. So it's quite a nice expression. Okay, thank you, Taisia. That is the end of your speaking test. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't have questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, then thank you for your participation. I will stop the recording now. I will, okay. I will, yes, I will also try to share now what I have